Most of you will know that Ashes of Creation Alpha 2 is coming in Q3 this year, and that's not far away at all. And what you will probably have seen recently is a couple of videos, a couple of posts, all talking about what your expectations should be with this test. And yes, it's a test, not a game. So let's talk about it right now. Now, this is not a slight on any content creator who has made a video like this. You know, there's quite a few, and it makes sense because in the recent live stream, Steven was basically imploring content creators to try and get this message out. And the message is simple, that Alpha 2 is more of a test than a final game, and your expectations should be thus. And whilst that's true, I still think that Alpha 2 is incredibly important. And if I'm honest, part of this problem is to do with the fact that the game is going to be in open development. We're going to see a lot of the sausage being made, and you may know that the sausage might not be very pretty whilst it's being made. That's something that Intrepid and Steven have actually signed up into when they kickstarted the game. I've been saying a little bit with PAX Day recently that when it goes into early access and they're actually wanting money for that product, then it's going to be very reasonable to criticize it, even though it's actually a proper alpha pretty much at that stage. And I think that's not quite the case with Ashes of Creation. And some people might be asking, like, what is the difference there? Well, as I said, Ashes of Creation has been in open development for a long time. That was always sort of part and parcel. If you've paid in to the alpha at any point, or even the betas, then you should know what you're getting. They've communicated that almost as well as you could expect. And this latest message in Steven's video is again him just being a little bit concerned that a lot of people, probably myself included, are getting probably overhyped about an actual technical alpha rather than a finished game. That's not to say it's not important, because actually, as I said, it's very important nonetheless. And why is it important? Because basically Alpha 2 is going to be your billboard. That's what people are going to look at when they look at the game. People are going to be able to get their own footage with their own bugs and with their own testing, whatever they want to do. Maybe it's class testing or what have you. You know, YouTubers are going to be putting all that kind of footage on YouTube, and Twitch streamers are going to be streaming it all day long pretty much. When somebody comes to the product, that's what they're going to see. They're going to see Alpha 2, not the end goal, right? That's many years away. And in fact, in the recent stream, they mentioned quite a few times that Alpha 2 is probably going to be sticking around for quite a while. Now, they didn't specify any time frame, but I'm assuming it's going to be at least 1 year, probably 2, maybe even 3. Probably 3, if I'm honest. And even though it's not fair that the Alpha 2 will be criticized as being a full game, it is going to be criticized as such, even if they've said it's a test. That's the billboard, that's effectively the marketing, and that's what people are going to be looking at, and that's what people are going to critique. It's basically going to get hammered as if it's a real product, even though it's not. There'll be many people trying to do like counter arguments to that, but there's going to be a lot of uninformed people who just look at that and they'll be like, well, I'm making my judgment here and now. And let's also be honest, the length of Alpha 2, they've said it's probably going to be quite a while, that's going to start feeding into this idea that it's a bit of a scam MMO that might not actually be completed. We might go down what Star Citizen sort of has experienced, where it doesn't actually look like Star Citizen's going to materialize at some point, but a lot of people have assumed that it's a scam because it's been in development so long with a high amount of funding. That could very easily happen to Ashes of Creation as well. And is it unfair to criticize the features of the game when it's in testing? That's going to be a little bit awkward, right? Because some criticism is obviously going to be warranted. That's effectively what the feedback will be. We don't like this, we like this, and all of that will get sort of changed over time, we assume, based on the feedback of those testers / players. Most of the features we're expecting to be sort of playable, even though they're not obviously going to be finished. Steven at one point said he wants Alpha to be mostly feature complete, Alpha 2 that is. Now, I believe there are some features that aren't going to make it. For example, I think at one point they actually said we want sailing to be in it, but sailing I don't think is going to be in the first iteration of Alpha 2. And whenever I say this is in it and this isn't in it, and Steven said this one time, there's somebody who knows that Steven said another thing at a different time, because the development has been so long and the changes that they've made over time are logical, but it's sort of hard to keep track of. But mostly Alpha 2 is going to have most of the features that the game is going to offer, just not in a complete state. And yes, it might be buggy. They may be trying to downplay it, but I think Alpha 2 is actually just going to be super important. And Steven knows that, by the way. He knows it's going to be super important, obviously. And he also knows that it's a bit of marketing. They try and play this game where they tell you that it's a test, but they also know that it's a bit of marketing. Alpha 1, for example, pretty sure they overtly stated that they moved it because they didn't want to be overshadowed by different games that are coming out at that time, or at least that was part of the reason. But why would that matter if it's not a marketing sort of related thing? Obviously it is. Open development is the marketing in a way. And you know what? It's actually been quite successful at that. So while Steven might be saying, hey, it's a technical test, don't set your expectations too high, I don't want people to be fooled by that to thinking that the Alpha 2 doesn't matter. It is still very, very important. They even say they're going to do stuff like polish stages that they wouldn't typically be doing at this point because the game isn't ready, but they're aware that people are going to be playing it, so that polish needs to actually happen. I've never seen an MMO developed like this at a level that Ashes of Creation is doing it. All of the other open development MMOs not really been successful as far as I know. It looks like that this is just one of the pitfalls that Intrepid are running into, is that the expectations are all over the place right now. You've got content creators like me who if I'm honest, very excited about Ashes of Creation and ready to stream it pretty much all day, every day for a while. But also we know it's going to get wiped, it's not a finished game, it's just a test. And they have to sort of keep that expectation in check. I mentioned that this is somewhat marketing. It might be that they actually don't want Alpha 2 to be marketed. It might be that they want to downplay it, and this is the start of that. And why would you want to downplay it? Well, you can't actually buy in, so they're not actually selling anything right now. So why would they want your interest? That's a question that's staying around in my mind right now. So yeah, keep your expectations in check. It's just a test, it's not the actual game release. But I understand why people are excited. The game release is many, many years away, probably 3, 4, maybe even more. And we're just eager to see if these systems actually make sense in a coherent game. It's not a game, it's a test, but it will feel like one. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you want to help me, then becoming a Patreon is truly the best way. Other than that, you can come and watch me over on Twitch. Currently I'm streaming New World, but as I said, I will be streaming Ashes of Creation. Also, if you want to try and get in the guild, I'm going to be doing an EU guild at the minute. Well, in Alpha 2, and that'll probably, last all the way until launch. You can sign up in my Discord. There's no requirements. If you want in, you're in. A non-super hardcore toxic PvX guild. For now, have a most beautiful day. Like and subscribe. Goodbye.